All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Before we get started, I want to send all of you thank you for your tremendous support. People are slowly but surely finding out about who we are and what we do. They enjoy and respect the passion with which we speak. But as we always say, we do this because we love it, as we are simply sharing our passions with you all as we continue to build our listening army to take over the world. We definitely wanted to do this particular episode on the recent boxing matches that we had this past weekend. I know we're about a week late from doing our review, but those things happen. But we definitely wanted to come and hit you with a quick 1-2 about our recent news in a great sport of professional boxing. We are going to start off with Devin Haney's successful title defense once again in Melbourne, Australia, over former champion George Ferocious Kambosos. And folks, watching this fight again was almost a carbon copy of the first fight. Now, that fight occurred June of this year. I was actually in Cleveland, Ohio, and I was still able to watch the fight. So being in transit and in travel, that's why we really couldn't do a review for that fight. But we did watch the first fight. We were very impressed by a young man at the age of 23 going into a foreign nation and just dominating the champion. So we were definitely very impressed by that. And to go to a guy's home country, and we're not talking about a small country, we're talking about Australia, to go to a sold-out arena and beat the guy to become the undisputed champion by scores of 116, 112, 116, 112, 118, 110. That's pretty much judges giving Kambosos 4 rounds, and even those 4 rounds to give him, if you scored the fight 116, 112, were very hard rounds to come by. We thought that Devin Haney outboxed beautifully. He utilized angles and footwork and head movement, and he did the same thing in this fight. Now, going to the first round, you could tell that Kambosos came out a little bit more aggressive, or tried to become more aggressive, tried to initiate some of the action, being, quote, the effective aggressor. And really, for the first round, you can maybe give that round to Kambosos by just on sheer aggression, even though they landed the same amount of punches. And I felt that Haney did a good job of actually countering some shots. But as the fight went on, you saw Haney starting to establish his jab. Now, Kambosos looked like he was trying to switch from southpaw to orthodox throughout the fight. And while I'm watching it, I was saying that all Haney has to do is time his switch and catch him as he's switching. And as Haney got his timing down, as Haney got the rhythm down, that's exactly what he did. Caught him with a flush 1-2 right as Haney made the transition from orthodox to southpaw and vice versa. So that strategy didn't work. We know why Kambosos tried to deploy that strategy, to maybe throw him off to gain some type of edge or some type of tactical advantage, whether it's actually in the ring or maybe a psychological advantage, but it clearly didn't work. He was in there overmatched, and you knew that Kambosos was in for a world of hurt. What I'm going to say was the 7th or 8th round, and please correct me if I'm wrong, was that Haney was landing straight right leads. One of the most dangerous punches ever was landing consecutive straight right leads. And Kambosos took the full brunt of it. There was nothing he could do. His face was getting marked up. The man even had a cut on the side of his head. Now, maybe that could have been from a clash of heads, but as the fight went on, you saw Kambosos getting sliced up, diced up, and he was getting picked apart. Haney really started to force the action. At one point, and I believe even the commentators even said it best, it looked as if Kambosos was ready to go. He just needed some help getting there, i.e. he was close to being knocked out. And if Devin Haney, and if you want to maybe take away a one negative, he doesn't have that explosive punching power that, let's say, a Gervonta Tank Davis has, where if he had that power, he could have knocked Kambosos out anytime between the 10th, 11th, and 12th round. But I don't want to take away from another flawless performance, another wonderful performance, to go into this man's home country. Once again, you won the title per rematch clause. It was back in the man's home country, and that's exactly what he did. He beat the man up again, and by even wider margins, 118, 110, 119, and 109. So he beat the man even worse. And I think most reasonable fight fans who saw that first fight was gonna find it very hard to figure out how can Kambosos really stem a tide from just being completely outboxed like that. That wasn't a lucky knockout punch or he got caught. It was a thorough beating the first time and a worse beating the second time. So all kudos to Devin Haney. We're going to give respect to George Kambosos for never quitting, never giving up. He did what he needed to do. He just fell extremely short before another great fighter, and those things happen in boxing. It's not to take away anything that Kambosos has done. Those things happen in the sport of boxing. So now for the lightweight division. If these fights don't get made, we're tired of talking about it on Instagram. Us fellow fight fans are tired of talking about it on Twitter. Make these fights in 2023. It's that simple. You still have Lomachenko. You have the undisputed champion, which is Haney. You got Shakur Stevenson, who just moved up in weight. You got Gervonta Tank Davis. You got Ryan Garcia. This is truly a golden era for the lightweight division. These guys need to fight each other. And let me say this, fellow fight fans, because a guy loses does not negate anything that they have done prior, and we call this the Mayweather effect. The fact that Mayweather retired with an undefeated record, and the fact that a majority of boxing fans watched his fights to see him lose to now say he was trash. Now, in our minds, as the American boxing fan, we think that if a guy loses the fight, all of a sudden he's a scrub, he's a bum, he's this, he's that. Guys lose. Some of the all-time greats have lost. Very rarely do fighters retire undefeated. The fighters who retired undefeated: Floyd Mayweather, Joe Calzaghe, Ricardo Lopez, and there's one person I'm forgetting, and obviously the late Rocky Marciano. That's very rarefied air. Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, Bernard Hopkins. The all-time greats, the Stanley Ketchels and Harry Greb, Jack Johnson, Joe Louis, the all-time greats have lost, and we still hold these people on pedestals and Mount Rushmores in terms of boxing greatness. We want to see these guys fight, and these guys are in their early to mid to late 20s. I think off the top of my head, the oldest person might be Tank in his late 20s. So these guys should be having these round robin fights where this type of talent in the lightweight division, we should be having discussions 20, 30 years from now, how great these guys are, and about how great these guys can be if they fight each other to establish who the best person is. Because for my older fight fans listening, let's go back to the late 90s and the early 2000s with the welterweight division. You had Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, Pernell Whitaker, Shane Mosley, Ike Quartey. You had quality fighters, and really what Oscar De La Hoya is the guy who fought everybody. And again, we still talk about these fights till this day, some classic fights. These guys with their talent, because these guys are very, very talented. You have the Garcias, you have Tank with his speed and power, you have Haney with his skills, you have Shakur with his skills, you got Lomachenko with his skills. These are high-level skill guys, and we as boxing fans don't want to hear about promotional contracts, don't want to hear about wars, don't want to hear about PBC and Al Heyman and Top Rank. We want to see these guys get in the damn ring. We don't want to hear Twitter beefs, Instagram beefs, Snapchat beefs, and TikTok beefs. No, settle it in the ring. In 2023, we should be getting some of the best fights possible that's being made between these guys. As fight fans, beat the drum, sound the horn. If we see them in public, question these guys. I didn't say do any physical bodily harm to them. That's not what we're saying. But question these guys, make them fight each other, because we as fight fans, we want to see these fights. You cannot say you're the best fighter and don't fight the best guys. We're not going to fight these other outside guys here and there. No. These are the top guys. We want to see them fight, and these guys are going to make up for some exciting action, so that's definitely what we want to see. Deontay Wilder made his successful return the same night, knocking out one Robert Helenius, and everything I've been hearing is the King is back, and he's back of what? Or back from what, rather. Wrong preposition. And listen, Deontay Wilder's power was never an issue. Deontay Wilder's power was never the question. His skills have always been the question. Even when Deontay was undefeated and knocking out fighters, we have always stated, as well as other sensible fight fans have said, yes, he's knocking guys out, but his form is extremely sloppy. He was knocking guys out, and we said, well, what's going to happen when he runs into a person that he cannot knock out, who has a little bit more skills than him, and it crystallizes itself in the form of one Tyson Fury. So again, we're happy Deontay Wilder is back. We have been very critical of Deontay Wilder in the past. Listen to some previous broadcasts that we did, and deservedly so. But to just sound the horn and say, hey, Deontay's back, and what is he gonna do? Again, his power was never an issue. He has all-time great power. I didn't say he's an all-time great fighter. He has all-time great power. That's never been in question. The problem is his skill-wise or lack of skill-wise, and holding his hands up at awkward angles, but his power carried him through the day. His power made up for those serious technical flaws until he ran into somebody who he could not get away with. So give him all the credit. We're glad he's back. He lost a lot of weight. I think he's down to 214, which we always say that probably was his best weight when he was coming in the ring weighing the high 220s and low 230s against one Tyson Fury, obviously to deal with Tyson's larger frame. That was too much muscle. The more muscle you have, the more action it requires. So clearly he was gassing out, especially in that third fight. So 214 could be a good weight for him, again, to still maintain his power, to maybe go the distance. So we'll see what he does. An eliminator fight is set up between former heavyweight champion, one Andy Ruiz. That's a very interesting fight. We're happy that fight is being made. That fight was always kind of discussed on the sidelines. How would Wilder fare against one Andy Ruiz? You have the skills of Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz does have a pretty good chin. And of course, the power versus Wilder. So anytime there's heavyweights, it's going to make for some good action. So we're definitely going to keep our eye on the Andy Ruiz versus Deontay Wilder fight. And the winner of that fight will get a title shot against one Tyson Fury. Which brings us to Tyson Fury. Folks, if you haven't seen, it's been announced that Tyson Fury is going to come out of, quote, retirement and fight a third fight against challenger Derek Chisora the first Saturday in December. And folks, and December 3rd to be exact. Folks, we said this before. Fight fans, don't even watch that fight. Don't even give it a time of day. And I would never, and of course, we love the sport. We love the words in this sport, but we are not going to support garbage. And that's exactly what this is garbage. Tyson Fury sat up there and let us believe that he was going to fight Anthony Joshua, even though Anthony Joshua did nothing to deserve a title shot, but at least Anthony Joshua still holds somewhat of a name, and we thought we were going to get that fight. Then he set all type of fake deadlines and outrage, and then we're getting Derek Chisora. Folks, let me just paint the picture for you. Derek Chisora is 33-12. Now tell me, when in the blue hell does a guy with 12 losses get a shot at the heavyweight championship of the world? And by the way, a Tyson Fury who's already beaten him not once, but twice. And the last time they fought was November of 2014. Folks, yes, we support our fighters, but we are not going to support hot damn garbage. That's just what we're not going to do. We are not watching this fight. We don't want to hear about this fight. And are any Tyson Fury diehard fans just not going to call him out for not fighting the other top heavyweight in the world, one Alexander Usyk? Just asking for a friend. We are not watching this fight. This man has 33 wins, 12 losses. Nothing. And by the way, before his last win, July of 2022, the man suffered 3 straight losses. Yes, there are a unanimous decision and split decision losses to Joseph Parker, as well as a unanimous decision against one Usyk, but it's still 3 straight losses. And again, 33-12, getting a heavyweight title fight, and Tyson Fury passes on fighting Anthony Joshua and really didn't seem that interested in fighting Alexander Usyk. That's a problem. We definitely will not be watching that fight. Which brings us to the last thing that we definitely wanted to discuss. Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Bud Crawford. Go ahead and cut the music. We about tired of YouTube ninjas. The fight was agreed upon for November 18th, November the 19th. And then we got word that there was a delay, even though terms were agreed, but fight fans always kind of kept our mind saying, well, we kept our eye on the prize by stating that the fight was having some delays. We never got an official announcement. We never got a press conference. And now we got word that now the fight was possibly delayed because there were issues with agreements and contracts. So now it's looking like the fight is not going to happen in November. Then we're getting word that now it could be definitely locked in for February the 4th. Errol, Terrence, we don't want to hear a damn thing from you all until we see you all on the stage, face to face, or we see a contract posted on Instagram, until we see Spence and Crawford announced at this time and this date with a formal press conference. We want to see all that. And then, yes, we're going to move the goalposts here. We won't even be convinced until, as my little brother said, until we get a 24/7 or all access show of Spence and Crawford. Then we'll believe it then. Then we probably still won't believe it until the day of the fight, until you guys are actually walking into the ring. We are tired of the parlor games. We want to see this fight. This is the top welterweight fight that we want to see. And fellas, here's a word of advice for you. You're both in your 30s. And again, we're not assigning blame because, of course, if you ask the Bud people, it's Spence that's delaying the fight. If you ask the Spence people, it's Bud delaying the fight. Us fight fans, we don't give a rat's ass. We want to see this fight. You guys are the 2 top welterweights of this era, undefeated champions, highly skilled practitioners, great fighters. We want to see this fight. Cut the crap, make the fight happen, establish who's the best. We're tired of these videos posted up where you guys are talking trash to each other back in the day. Well, if I stop him, they're going to say he's too old, or if I stop him, they say he's going to be too small. I tell you what, we usually settle these things in the ring. Figure out who's the best, get in the ring. Those are the fights that we want to make happen. But those are some of our recent boxing news. Please definitely feel free to leave a comment. Again, if you have any issues or feel free to email us at chinchecksportsradio@gmail.com. Once again, it's chinchecksportsradio@gmail.com. And until the next time, signing out.